I'm at a transition point in my life right now where the Lord is testing my faith, I believe. Though I've been here before. When I graduated from Florida State University in 1979, when I was 20 years old, I was applying for Air Force Officers Training School. And I had graduated cum laude with a 3.51 average with a degree in health education. And I didn't really have training in a field where I could just go right out and work in my field, but I had a bachelor's degree and I graduated with honors. So I decided to apply for Air Force Officers Training School. But I was a very active churchgoer, and in my heart, I wanted to go to Bible college. It had been a dream of mine since high school, but I never really had the faith to go out to Bible college, because I never thought I had the money, because my family wasn't a Christian. I wasn't from a Christian home. When I was at FSU, my junior year, I completely turned my life over to the Lord, started getting very active in church. I was going like Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And there were a couple of Bible colleges I was considering, and one in particular really attracted me. It was called Baptist University of America. And the singing group came to my church, and I said, I think I'd like to go there. But I thought, but it's such a gamble because my mother's not going to support me. And I already have a bachelor's degree from a state university, so I wasn't sure. So I thought, well, that's kind of risky, and let's try for Air Force Officers Training School. And I can be just as good a Christian in the secular world as in the religious world. That's what I told myself back then. So I applied. And right after I applied for Air Force Officers Training School, it was right before a Wednesday evening service, and I went to the Lord and I said, Lord, I really want to do your will for my life. And if you want me to go to this certain school that I'm thinking of going to, Baptist University, or to Bible college, then when I go to church tonight, speak to me in the service. If not, I'm just going to go forward with my application for Air Force Officers Training School, which I think I have a pretty good chance of getting. And then I can serve you in the military as an officer. So I went to church that night, and the preacher said, we've had an emergency, and I will not be speaking. We have a guest speaker who's come into town. He's the executive vice president of Baptist University, and he spoke, and the whole message was on the excuses we make not to do God's will. And he was from Baptist University. And it was like that message was tailor-made for me. And the classes at BUA, that's what we called it, we're starting in like 2 days. And I said, oh my goodness, this is the Lord. He answered my prayer. And what I did is I went home, I packed my bags, and within 24 hours, I was on the campus of BUA. I didn't even know if I was going to be accepted. I talked to the executive vice president and told him about the message. He said, it sounds to me like the Lord's speaking to you. Well, I went there, and the whole first month I was there, I only had $20 on me. I didn't even know where I was getting money for tuition. So talk about leaping out on faith. And every single chapel message I heard the first month I was there, it was like the messages were tailor-made for me, and they matched what I'd read in my devotions that day. And this camera's acting strange. And so and guess what? I ended up getting a part-time job where I worked during the day. I went to school at night, and I made it that first year. It was tight, and I had one day where I only had a chicken drum to eat. That was my own fault. If I let the dorm manager know that I needed some food, she would have gladly brought me down to the cafeteria. So he took care of my needs that first year. And I ended up graduating from that school. Same school Larry the cable guy went to. He didn't finish, though. To make a long story short, today has been a day like that. I don't know why, but the past week I just love watching Jesus of Nazareth, the 1977 miniseries they made, because Jesus in that miniseries seems so much like the Jesus that I've been meeting with Brent and Torrance. And I've just loved to watch it. It makes it feel like Jesus is in the room with me. Well, I said, you know what? I want to put this on my website. So I found a Vimeo video that I could embed onto my website's opening page. And so I was listening to that Vimeo video and I said, you know what? I need to have my devotion. So I opened my Bible, and I just happened to be I read from Genesis to Revelation. It happened to be in 2 Chronicles. And It was in the passage about Solomon and his riches. And right at that time, the Vimeo movie was on I was listening to the website at the same time I was having my devotions. And Jesus was on the Sermon on the Mount in the movie saying, don't worry about what you can eat. And today's worries are enough. Don't worry about tomorrow. And it was like the Lord. And then he says, even the grass of the field is clothed even better than the way Solomon reigned. And I said, this is right where I'm at in my Bible, is reading about Solomon. And it was like the Lord was saying, Gail, I'm just trying to let you know. I know you're in a transition phase. You've run out of unemployment. And you don't even know how you're going to be able to meet your bills for August. But don't worry about it. It's all under control. And I'm going to take care of you beautifully. And what was really funny is when I first heard the movie on my website, it was like I could feel the Lord just kind of caressing my spirit and saying, and kissing me on the head like a father would a daughter. Like, yeah, I like that movie, Gail. I'm glad you're putting it on your website. It was like he was telling me that. He says, I like the way it portrays me. Jesus is very personable, and he comes across very expressive and yet very authoritative at the same time. And I just felt like the movie, the Jesus of Nazareth miniseries, of all the things productions I've seen about Jesus, is the closest to him. He's kind of like a blend between Jesus Christ Superstar and Jesus of Nazareth, but much more Jesus of Nazareth, because Jesus Christ Superstar doesn't show him enough as a deity. And so, I don't know what's wrong with this video, Lord. Anyways, I'm not worried about next month, and what was really strange is as I was watching the Vimeo embedded video at my website, guess where the movie ends? Right at the Sermon on the Mount. It was like, and then it repeats, and it was in a repeat. It repeated it again. It was like there was a glitch in the programming, and it repeated that whole Sermon on the Mount section about not worrying about tomorrow, trusting God to take care of your. He says, don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, all this stuff. I'm going to take care of. It played twice while I was reading the section about Solomon in my devotions. And then what's really weird is I have this on DVD. But I have it on 2 DVDs. I dubbed it off of television. And one of the DVDs ends right at the same Sermon on the Mount section about not worrying about your clothing. And I thought, this is too much. This is three, tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row. I says, man almighty, this is Jesus. I am not worried about August. I just got to tell you, it was like everything was preordained today. Even the way I dubbed my videos, I accidentally ended on the Sermon on the Mount on one of my DVDs. And like this Vimeo movie doesn't show the whole Jesus of Nazareth. It stops kind of like in the middle. And my second video picks up right after that Sermon on the Mount section. And I had one first video that ended right on the Sermon on the Mount section talking about not worrying. I thought, this is too much of a coincidence. It's like Jesus is emphasizing the Sermon on the Mount with me. Gail, don't worry about your food, about your bills. I'm going to take care of it. Well, sometimes you think, well, maybe I know you're going to take care of it. Maybe I'm not in your will. Maybe you're going to punish me because I'm not perfect. But it was like the Lord saying, no, 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 no. You're doing great, Gail. Just relax. He says, you've done your part. Now I'm going to do my part. So I just got to share this blessing with you folks. This is how Jesus is. And the way he caressed me, it wasn't Zach Knight, because I know when it's Zach Knight. He always puts something sexual in there. This was totally spiritual. No, it was like a father with a daughter type of affection. And the feelings were just so holy. I love the Jesus of Nazareth miniseries. If I had to recommend one out there that's closest to that describes Jesus the way I've known him, I'd say the Jesus of Nazareth miniseries with Robert Powell, who I think does a really good job of portraying Jesus. The only thing is he's brown-eyed, brown hair, with hair down to the middle of his waist, but he's very personable. And the main reason I'm writing my book is I want the world to experience the Jesus that I've experienced. And the way to experience him is first I've got to expose all of our hearts, because he deals with us with our hearts. And anyways, I just had to share this blessing. But If you go to my website, you'll get to see the movie, Jesus of Nazareth. I've embedded it on the first page. And it's so strange where it ends. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills for August, but I'm not worried. Resting in Jesus. And you know what's funny? When I was at BUA, I didn't worry about my bills either that first month because I had heard so many chapel messages that matched exactly what I had in my devotions. I said, I'm right into his plan. You say, well, what, you didn't go into the ministry, so why in the world do you think he sent you to BUA? I think BUA was boot camp for my Christian life. He was just making me more and more like him and also molding me to be his writer. And I am his writer. I'm working on his book right now. He's just a really... Jesus is kind of like a blend between he's hip, but yet he's very personable, and yet he's deity too. When he speaks, he has an authority in his voice when he's with us. It's like he doesn't, you know, us humans, we kind of hedge and we kind of like hesitate sometimes when we say things. He never hedges or hesitates. He's very direct and authoritative. It's like he knows that what he's telling you is right, and then he knows he doesn't make any mistakes. So whenever he offers an opinion, it's very authoritative. It's like, this is it. I'm right, and we're not going to argue about it. You know, it's like, that's it. He's not a dictator, but he doesn't have any doubts when he gives us advice that he's giving us the best advice and that we need to listen to him. That's his attitude. For your information, you might say, well, has Jesus endorsed any particular movie? No, not really. This is just my personal opinion. I think Jesus of Nazareth does a pretty respectable job of showing what he's like. Not necessarily what he looks like, but what he's like, the way he comes across with Robert Powell. And he seemed to approve of it spirit to spirit with me today. I will say this much, Jesus does not like the Passion of the Christ. He thinks it's overboard. He told us that, so he doesn't approve of that one. But I think he does like Jesus of Nazareth.